Bueno, continuem amb el professor Juan Carlos Palmer. Ell és el coordinador del màster Elite i English Language for International Trade. I bueno, tens la paraula, Juan Carlos.
Thanks a lot, Patricia. We are going to start this session by introducing a short video. It's a 5-6 minute video, so you can have more or less an idea of what we do, okay? And the kind of future that would expect you if you take part in this kind of master. Okay, so please, let me share the video with you.
Vicedeganat, and I'm area sales manager in the export department. I finished my degree in translation interpreting at OIPEP, and actually I didn't know what I want to do. I always known that I love psychology, I love economy, and I wanted to integrate all these topics in the same one, and I saw an attractive option, which was Elite. I think it's not 100% related. I think it's 50% related. It's much more than what actually the master gives you. The master gives you a whole background on what your reality will be. In relation to me and personal Anosa, I apply every single thing that I have learned in the master's degree. I think this master's degree is not a choice, it's a must. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be successful, if you want to learn in life, of course, from international business, marketing, even economy, you learn a lot here, practically. So for me, and for the rest of people that are about to choose a master's degree, that's a must, for real.
Hello, my name is Laura Benajes. And I'm working as traffic assistant. I'm working as a forwarder. I'm coordinating all the logistics since the loading of any type of cargo to the discharge in any area or in any part in the world. So English is really interesting and important because you have to speak all day with your partners all around the world. I did a Master LE 3 years ago, and when I finished my degree, I didn't want to be a teacher, so I decided to look for something different, and I found this master. I think that the master brings me the opportunity to start working in what I want, so it really helps me to decide what to do in my future.
My name is Vera and I'm a traffic assistant. I decided to enroll in this master because I wanted to discover the business world. I think it's a good option and most importantly a different option. The master is completely focused on the business world and with the different subjects, marketing, documentation, presentations for being a salesman. I think this master is a very good opportunity to see the world in a more realistic way, specifically in the sense of working. I have found the job I want in my life, so I would say that you need to explore all the options you have and that teaching is not the only one.
These are just a few examples of students from past years who have joined important companies in recent times. The internship allows students to find the perfect place to show all their potential in a professional environment.
Well, my name is Pepe and I'm in the export department of Noken in Porcelanosa bathrooms. We are in charge of all the bathroom fittings. I personally think that most of the degrees are not practical. This master was practical, okay? Basically, this is the point that I like the most, and the other point is that it's full in English. So that's basically these 2 points are the main points. Asking me about if my work today has any relation with the master, completely, 100%, okay? What's more is that in the master we have subjects that they are the steps that I'm doing here in the job. It's gonna be a really good experience if you are friendly, if you like to stay with people, and overall, if you like to do business, because at the end this is the business field, this is your master.
Almost 20 years ago, we had a dream, which was to create a master in order to prepare our students to find great education in order to become the workforce for many of the companies in this area in Castellón. This was almost, as I said, almost 20 years ago. And that dream is still on today. Elite is the dream. Elite is the answer. Now, in order to share the presentation, share it and that's it.
You know how to share it?
More or less.
No, el de la flecha.
Which one?
El de la flecha, de 3 puntets.
¿Qué hemos visto este? Sí.
No, el de la esquerra. Ay, disculpa.
Hemos visto el de 3 puntos.
El de al costat de 3
sí,
puntets.
sí, claro. Este de sí, ¿no?
Yo ficaría toda.
Toda.
Yo ficaría toda. Bueno,
¿Toda?
Es que no lo tienes abierto. Cancela primero.
Voy a abrir la presentación que está.
Allò que anirem tots més. Is this one?
Ara sí, compartís.
Okay.
La pantalla.
I suppose that everyone can watch it now. Supposedly. Okay, let me just check this. Yeah, sure. Okay, let me introduce the master. Okay, the contents of the master. As you saw in this video, in this very short video, we have different types of students. Some of them come from our degree. I would say that about 20, 25, 30% are people who have been studying languages in the past. But that's it. Some of the people come from different degrees at the university, and not only here in Castellón. I would say that most of our students come from all over the world. When I mean from all over the world, I mean from different countries. This year, we have students from 7 different countries in the classroom. We only offer 25 seats in the master, okay? As most masters here at the university, of course. And as one of my colleagues said before, this is a master which is an official master. That means that in the future, you have to go throughout all the probation system in order to get a tenure here at the university or working for something official. You will find that this master has got importance and you will use it in the future. So this is the 18th edition of the master. We have been working on it since 2005. That's plenty of years ago, okay? Many, many years ago. And how does it work? It's very simple. We have 60 credits in 2 semesters. It's 1 academic year. It starts generally last week of September, first week of October. This year would be 2022. And then you will finish everything in September the following year. When I say this is very important because some people are already working, and so they come on a part-time basis. They can complete the master in 1.5 years, okay? Because this master is an afternoon master. People come to class from 5 to 9. So people working for companies that tend to finish every day about 6:30, they only can come to class after 7. What we do is to swap classes. Classes that this year start at 5 o'clock, next year will start same day of the week at 7, and vice versa. So a person can complete everything in 1.5 years, okay? And that has been especially devised for those people who are already working for companies. What are you going to learn if you take part in this master? Okay, first of all, what you're going to learn is not what we want you to learn. It's what companies in this area want you to learn. Because they want people who can start working for them straight away. When you complete your master, and we can say about this year, we can say results about this year, you complete the master, you start your internship, you complete your internship, you complete your TFM, and the result so far is that 92% of the students that we have had in the master continue working in the same company or in companies in the same area, sometimes in the companies in the same group, okay? So the kind of results related to professional engagement within the company is quite high. We're talking about 92%, which is not bad these days, is it? There are 2 itineraries, of course. One of them is the professional itinerary, which is basically taken by, I would say, 95% of the students, 96, 97% of the students, is the basic itinerary. But some people decide that they want to go on and to continue with research. And research is important. Research sometimes has to do with teaching business English in the future, here at the university or in some private institutions. So you can also go for this itinerary, which is also important in some cases. We have a couple of students each year that decide to go on with the research itinerary. And what is more important, some people who have started with the professional itinerary, after some years, they decide to complete the master with the second itinerary. And they only have to study 24 extra credits. You can complete both itineraries by completing 84 credits altogether, which is 1.5 years approximately. These are the 36 credits which are compulsory for both itineraries. Disregarding the itinerary you take, you will have to study these 36 credits, these subjects. The first one is intercultural communication, meetings and negotiations in a business context. And this is very, very important. Today, we're dealing in a very special world, a terribly intercultural world with people from all over the world sharing business with you. And you have to get ready to work with them, okay? And you will have to learn how to have meetings with them, how to negotiate contracts with them. And that's something that is terribly important in the business world these days. Then you will have to learn how to create business documents, how to create business writing, professional business writing. Some people say, I know how to write in English. That's not enough. You need to know how to write professional business texts. Then you will also have to start working with the language of telephoning. Language of telephoning is obviously important, but these days there are many other communication technologies that are substituting traditional telephoning, and you will have to learn about it as well. Then you need to know some basics about marketing and product promotion, which is something basic these days. Items, products, goods are not sold these days by themselves. You have to learn how to do that. You have to learn as many tricks as possible in order to sell those products. So you will learn that in this module, in this class. You will also have to learn something which is basic. There are studies that say that about 70% of the trade, 70% of the negotiation carried out in companies these days are carried out having dinner, not in the company, but having dinner with your customers. Then you will have to learn how to socialize. You will have to learn how to deal with those not so relevant meetings, which at the end are very, very important, terribly important. And you will also have to organize business trips and know how to go somewhere in order to sell your products or buy products if you are in the other side. You will also have to learn a little bit of a persuasive language, how business presentations work. Some of you already know a little bit about that, but you will have to learn even more. You will also have to deal with case studies. This is a very special subject that we have. In the master, you're going to be learning very different things. And in case study module, you will have to put all of them together. You will have to create a company. You will have to create, obviously not a real company, but you will have to create a case, a complicated case, something that you will have to do in order to sell a product in a specific market. And you will have to learn all the different steps you have to follow, taking information from the rest of the modules of the course. This is obviously the last subject that you will have to take during the course. And finally, of course, you will have to complete a final project, as in every official master, okay? That's what we call the TFM. You're really worried about your TFG these days. You will have to learn a little bit about it. Then if you take the professional itinerary, as I said, it's taken by 90+% of the students. These are going to be the subjects that you will have to take. One of them is going to be using documents in a business environment. And this is terribly important. Our students are having problems this year, and I have to be very frank with you. Are having problems with some companies because they learn how to create every single document they're going to be using in the future. And in some companies, they're used to create 4, 5, 6 different types of documents, the ones they use constantly. And when our students get into those companies, sometimes they have problems because they know more than the companies need. And sometimes they have the problem that if we do it this way, no, don't do it that way. We have been doing this like this for 20 years. And they discover that they are doing things wrong, okay? So you will learn everything about how to create business documents, specific legal business documents, in a very simple way, in a very practical way. And we'll talk about practice in a minute. Then you will have to learn a little bit about international marketing. Why marketing? That you have learned already in the first semester. Why it becomes international, why it's being used all over the world. And a little bit about how a company works. A little bit about international business management. Why? Because first you will start completing your internship in a company, probably working for the company in the future. But in some cases, some of our students are now the CEO of some important companies here in this area. And some of them are dealing with 300, 400 workers, and you have to learn how to manage that situation. That's difficult. And you will have that experience in the classroom. They will come and they will tell you their own experience. And then obviously, if you take this opportunity, if you take this itinerary, you will have an internship. Of course, you will have an internship. Where? In a company, either in our area, here in Castellón area, Valencia, or not internationally. You can also complete your internship in another country. We offer the opportunity of completing your internship, for instance, in Belgium. We have an agreement with a Belgian institution in order to complete your internship there. If you decide to go for the research itinerary, you will have to take 3 subjects. One of them is a specific English teaching, what we call ESP, CLIL. Another one would be the analysis of the specialist discourse in English, which is always a very fascinating topic. And finally, you have to learn how to create research papers as well, okay? The research methods and how to deal with research. That's all in order to go for the second itinerary, as I said. And these are some pictures from the students from these previous years. And as I said, we are dealing with 18 years so far. So I have just chosen some pictures from these recent years, okay? Anyway, not sad people, as you can see. Anyway, important. Is this very theoretical? No. Our approach is a practical one. We are really interested in getting practical, in learning how to do things. Companies really pay attention to those students who really know how to do things, or who really show that they're really eager to show their true colors within the company, showing them that they have learned a lot, okay? So it's a very practical approach, as I said. Another important thing, as I said, it's an afternoon course, okay? What does it mean? It means that some people who are going to be with you in the classroom are people with some experience. Some of the people are people from all over the world. As I said as well, it's a very international master. But most people in the course are going to be students just like you, okay? So you shouldn't worry too much about that. Another important thing, we only have 25 seats. And these recent years, we are having problems rejecting people. Why? Because the level of our students, the level of the students that we get into the companies is getting quite high. We're going to be picking those students with a better curriculum, okay? We're going to be paying attention to the better curriculums we have, the better CVs with better resumes, and those are the ones who are going to be selected, obviously, okay? Because fortunately, we have quite a lot of students interested in taking the course. And now, I would like to show you some experience, okay? And obviously, teachers will always say that, okay, our studies are good and you have to take them or whatever. But the important thing is to get experience from ex-students, people who have completed their studies these recent years. And now we have the experience of one of our students, Nicola Covendas, who was one of our best students here in our degree, and who also completed master with us, and now is working for an important company here in Castellón, and she's going to tell you her experience. So let me try to share again Nicole's experience. Fortunately, Nicole is here.
I'm here.
Okay, Nicole, now all yours.
Can you hear me properly?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, cool. So, well, I'm really sorry I couldn't be there, but I'm working from home, but I'm working a lot and I have lots of things to do. So going to university would have just taken too much time for me. So I hope this way can be as interesting for you and useful for you as if I was there. So also I would like to thank Juan Carlos and Miguel again for this opportunity. And I'm here basically to give you my experience, because I imagine most of you or all of you come from the English Studies degree. So I've done that as well. I started in 2015 and finished in 2019. So I started and picked that degree because I loved literature, and I still do. It's one of my biggest passions. English has always been one of my biggest passions as well. So I just went for it, and I enjoyed the degree a lot. But you know, at some point I started wondering about my future career. And from the very beginning, I knew I didn't want to become a teacher. There's nothing wrong in that. It's just, I think there must be, you know, something inside you that says, go for it, go and teach people. But I couldn't find that within myself. So once I got to the fourth year of the degree, I took over Juan Carlos' subject, Business English. And that gave me a completely different perspective of how the English Studies degree could be applied to other things, to other sectors. And I enjoyed it a lot, and I learned a lot, especially with business presentations. They were very fun. And yeah, after the degree, I wanted to take a gap year, and I did. I went to Ireland and I worked as an au pair. I was doing really well, but then COVID came. So then I came back to Spain and I started to think about a master's degree. And to be very fair with you, I started to doubt. I wasn't 100% sure of the elites master, because I was also interested in the feminist one. But eventually, when thinking about a career, when thinking about a job, a future job, I 100% understood that the elite master was going to give me a bigger opportunity. And I wasn't wrong. As per Juan Carlos' presentation, and from the other students' feedbacks, I still think that the elite master is just something else. I mean, from these words that you're hearing, you are not getting the full picture. You have to live it, in my opinion. And you know, the elite master has been really enriching, because as you've heard from other students, you get a full insight of the business world, which is very different from what we used to do in the English Studies degree. I mean, we deal with linguistics, we deal with, I don't know, just writings, with literature, and then somehow you just switch to another sector, and it gives you a full perspective of the very branches you have in the business world. You have marketing, you have management, you have the presentations. The presentations are, I don't know, I would say they are key. They are key in sales, and it's just something that you will see once you start working, if you eventually pick this master up. And honestly, the thing that I would highlight from these masters is the teamwork spirit that you somehow train during those months. It's a very dynamic masters. It's something completely different from the degree. You will get a lot of practice. You will get a lot of I don't know. You will try to be part of the business world, even if it's just a representation. You will negotiate. You will have meetings, even if they're just you have to make them up. But that will give you a very nice, I don't know, introduction to the business world. Because when you're in sales, I will tell you about my job experience in a minute, but when you're in sales, you need to be very quick. You need to be very quick. You need to be very, you need to be ready, actually. And what the master does is to prepare yourself for that. Of course, the masters won't teach you everything, because once you get to the company, you will have to learn about their products. You will have to learn about the dynamics of the sector. There are many things that you will learn in place, but the masters prepares you, really does, to be there and just act and just react, and that's, in my opinion, it's a very important thing. And for sales, again, the presentations and the persuasive language have been, I don't know, I would say a key factor for me after almost 1 year at my job. And as now Juan Carlos was recapitulating all the subjects we had in the master, which somehow I tend to forget, but the negotiations and the meetings are really important. And don't take for granted the business trips and socializing. Juan Carlos said one thing just now, and he said that you somehow sell more during a dinner than in daily content, and that's 100% true. I will tell you my experience, and I will tell you why I think that's true. When the internship period came, I didn't want to go to a tiles company. I've never been attracted to that kind of sector. When, again, there's nothing bad in that, but it's just a personal preference. And I would also like to let you know that if you pick this master, you won't be restricted or restrained to this area, to the sector we know and we've been knowing for all of our lives. It's not only about tile sector. There are lots of more opportunities that are there for you. So I found a job. I didn't even had an internship. I found a job straight away, which is also an opportunity, and it's also a possibility for you. And yeah, basically I started this job, and I won't specifically tell you what the job is about, because it would take me 30 minutes to explain it. But it's about the telecommunications sector. I deal with the SMS, and this sector was completely new for me. Nothing really prepares you for that, in my opinion. There's not even a degree for that. So this is important also, as I was saying before, you won't always have the full information until you get to the company. And well, yeah, I'm in the sales. I'm a sales manager, and I've been working for the company for 1 year. Almost next week, it will be a year. And in February, end of February, we had a fair. We went to Barcelona to Mobile World Congress. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's a very big congress. And there I met my clients. I had been chatting with them for months, but then when you meet them, even if it's just for 10 minutes, you get to see the person, you get to see their actual way of communicating, because sometimes If you chat, for example, in my sector, we use Skype and we chat every single day. But once you see them in person, you get the full picture and you get how to treat them, and you get, oh, this one, okay, I know how to treat this one now. Okay, I know how to talk to that other one. But, you know, in that 10 minutes, I had meetings of 10 minutes because it was hectic. It was terribly hectic. So in just 10 minutes, I did more than in months. And that's for sure. So don't take for granted the subject of business trips and socialization, because I think it's clear. It's incredible. So, I mean, I'm going to have a look at my notes because I don't want to forget anything. Another thing important, which I think Juan Carlos hasn't mentioned, is that you also get to do projects internationally thanks to a program. I think they are doing that. Juan Carlos?
Yes, Nicole, we're running out of time. That's the thing.
Okay, no problem. So I think I said everything, but just, I mean, if you have any questions.
Nicole, thanks a lot for sharing your experience.
No problem.
And that's something important. I mean, now we have just a few minutes for questions, okay? Just a little bit, okay? If you have any question for Nicole, for myself, for anyone, please, this is the moment to do it. Is that okay for everyone? Thanks a lot to everyone, okay? Thanks a lot, Nicole.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Can I just leave? Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your feedback. Yeah?
Everything is on. Okay?
Everything should be working. Okay.
Jeremy, hello.
Hello.
Are you there?
I'm there. Yes. Can you hear
Thumbs
me?
up. Okay, I'm afraid you'll be just intervening at the very end of the presentation, which is going to be 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Is that
That's
okay?
fine. That's
Can you
absolutely
hold on?
fine.
Thanks very much.
Yes, going strong.
Yeah. So, let's move on to our next presentation, which is, bueno, la nostra pròxima presentació va a càrrec de la professora Maria José Esteve i de la professora Elena Ortells, del Departament d'Estudis Anglesos, el màster propi MELART, que és el Master in English Language and Literature and its Artistic and Cultural Expressions. It's just a brand new master, and I just wish the best, the very best for you. Yeah? Espero que esta nova etapa en estos estudis propis sigui molt profitosa. Bueno, dono la paraula a les professores i continuem en la presentació.
Això té algun tipus de... Si m'ho fica ahí, se sent suficient? Okay. All right, thanks very much. We're going to change the mood. We're going to change the setting of the two previous masters. We are the new people in town. This is the first year. No, it doesn't? Okay. Is that okay? Can everyone hear me properly? Yes? No? Yes. Right. So it's been a while until we have decided to push forward this idea, and actually we think it complements very nicely, and I think it's going to be a very good platform for people who are interested in a third area. Let's say we're going to be dealing with aspects that have already been previously worked in the degree, but we're having a very specific approach. We are thrilled with this. It's going to be working with and deepening in some of the issues we're very much interested in. Is a master that's going to be exploring the beyond textual perspectives we've been acquired to the degree. We're going to be presenting now a few objectives. We're going to present you some characteristics, some aspects and modules. And at the very end, we're going to have Professor Jeremy Smith, who I think some of you have already been acquainted with because he came over for a lecture a few weeks ago, so that you can have questions. As I said, what we are aiming at is a deeper specialization in English language, culture, and literature, so that people can acquire skills if they want to continue their training in a future PhD. We are still a master propri, okay? So we can't offer a direct pathway to a PhD admission, but we offer the training so that you can get another official master and get into the program. One of the few very important aspects that we have within the master is that we're going to be promoting what we call the new humanities, right? What is this? Because we come from the areas that we have been exploring in the degree known as language, culture, literature. But what we do with this, we do beyond text. The textual work is nowadays understood. Let's just checking. Understood as going beyond. We're not that kind of philology, if you know what I mean by the level, that pursued only textual work. Okay, we go beyond, we go and see how is this related to different aspects that we are interested with in the real world. Okay, so we explore digital, we explore music, we explore art, all kinds of art, sculptures, paintings, opera even. So we're going to be connecting how all these universal questions that have been dealt with in the works that we have been training with in the degree are dealt with in the real world, right? So there's a huge connection with the artistic and cultural world in the English language here. Another strength that we have is that we're going to be, I think, connecting UHI with many other experts from different international universities. We have been teaching in the university for quite a few years, and we have lots of permanent links and collaboration with different people that will make the most when they come here and talk to you about. So we've got Jeremy Smith joining in. We're going to have different also writers and people that explore the artistic world also joining in. We've got Emma Nudding from the University of York. We've got Richard Downs from the University of Cambridge. We've got Francis Legrand from the University of Oxford. Each of these names are very well considered and very well known people in their related fields that may join in virtually or in person whenever that's going to be possible to contribute to our master's teaching. We're going to go for this first year hybrid, which means that we will have, like the rest of the master's, a number of in sessions that we will combine with some virtual platforms as well. And the number of credits is also 60, okay? The sessions are going to be recorded as well. And if you've got any question about timetables or flexibility, we are very happy to answer for that later on. As I said, the development of critical and creative skills which deal with this idea of the new humanities is going to be at the very core of what we're doing in every of the modules. So a list of modules is going to follow right now. So Dr. Ortiz is going to be introducing a little bit of that. And I'll come back to you later to introduce a little bit of my own teaching space.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, right. Well, I don't usually need it, but right. So I'm going to introduce you to the to the titles of the modules. So as you can see from the very beginning, it's a very literary master, right? And very much connected with the other arts. reason to study things like this. The pedagogical approach. That is, one needs to have some sort of background if you want to implement or to have an extra material to implement in your classrooms, if you want to become teachers, if you want to work in editorials. So you can't translate really literary text if you don't have a literary background. And that's something that happens sometimes. I've been teaching for many years in the Masters of Secondary Education, and a module on how to introduce literature in the classroom. And one of the main things my students ask is, where do we find the materials? Because we don't have that background. So this would be the place to find the ideal materials. So this is to give you an idea of the aspects you'd be looking into. Creative writing. Well, creative writing is a basic subject in any American university. They're most of the time taught by writers, and well, we're going to have that too, right? In this master, creative writing, the subject of creative writing is going to be taught by Santiago Posteguillo, obviously. Okay, we couldn't do this without him, right? So if you want to become a bestseller writer, this is the place to be, right? Right, I'm just kidding, but okay, so we're going to have a writer, we're going to have collaborations of other writers coming from the Anglo-Saxon world too. We're working on that. Medieval literature and its artistic expressions, from narrative to art. We're going to deal, well, Maria Jose is going to deal with that later. Just think of all these subjects, all these titles, and of its their pedagogical applications, okay? Because that's what we're going to be dealing with. Young adult literature in the 20th and 21st century, and graphic novels as tools for social action. We'll deal with in more detail with all these subjects later, just to show you, to give you an idea of what you can find here. From literature to film and beyond, that's what Maria Jose was talking about before. I mean, the relationship between the filmic adaptations and canonical works. Emotions and humor in the American culture scene, poetry, plays, cinema, and art. You see again the connection between all those different forms. Translation, adaptation, and appropriation in the era of globalization. This is a very important aspect, right? How, I mean, nowadays, we have a lot of examples of globalized literature. We have a lot of people coming from Africa, for example, writing in English, right? So it's very difficult to speak of literature, for example, American literature nowadays, if we don't look at those authors. And then cognitive semantics and figurative language in the construction of fictive and real worlds. Obviously, we need to speak of things such as metaphors and visual references in order to understand how literary works are constructed, right? And very much related to the idea Maria Jose suggested about new humanism. The new humanities, right? There's another thing which is very trendy nowadays, which is the medical humanities. And this is something which, believe me, if American universities have them, it's because people enroll in them and they get economic benefit from them. Otherwise, they wouldn't offer them, right? So there are a lot of universities offering just specific courses on narrative medicine. And those courses are specifically literary courses. That is, you're not going to find anything about medicine there. You're going to find the same literary courses you can find, for example, in the degree of English studies. Because the idea is to encourage, well, doctors, nurses, health professionals to read literature so that those words, those literary words, can help them empathize with their patients, and that they can help their patients to construct, to build a narrative, so that they can tell their stories, and their stories, as if they were plots, and their stories should help their doctors to contribute, right, to improve their health, their treatments. So there's a very famous one in Columbia University in New York, and in some hospitals, they're encouraging their doctors to follow these sort of masters and courses. Okay. So here we go. Sometimes we need to explain why literature is something useful. Okay, so here we go. So now, well, yeah, creative writing. So we've already made the promotion of this subject. Don't need to dwell on this more. So Maria Jose is going to continue with exposing the most relevant ideas about this.
Well, I'm going to be very, very, very brief. Thank you, Elena. I think there's so much that we would like to tell you today, and we were a bit restricted with time, so there's time for open questions later. But you do know us because we've been together in the degree, so please feel free to write or to whatever, or contact us, phone us for whatever information you may need. But I think there's a very relevant point that Elena was highlighting, and this is obviously we're going to be training people in how to understand. There's going to be theory, there's going to be analysis. One of my the aspects of my module is going to be how to approach works of art that actually stem from texts that belong to this period, and I'm going to explain to you why this is relevant. But it is relevant because some of you and many people who are interested in these aspects, literature, culture, language, and text, are going to be becoming teachers of English. Sometimes in secondary school, sometimes in other settings. I have been a teacher in secondary school myself. And what she was pointing out, I think, is very relevant. We know, we've been discussing this in different subjects, in different classrooms, that nowadays we don't just teach grammar, we teach many different things. And the cultural aspect is fundamental. It's fundamental for many different reasons, because it helps you with the motivation, with the contextualization, everything. We cannot really teach language without culture, can we? Other masters have been referring to this. So I think this is an aspect with which we can actually contribute a lot. As I say, the point of these new humanities is about going beyond the text, connecting these words with the cultural environment and with the artistic expressions derived from it. So we are normally expecting, or we're going to be expecting people from the English degree or from the translation degree. In this sense, if you come from the English Studies department, the English Studies degree, you will have the background or some background of this period in which we have been working, analyzing with old and middle. I'm not going to give you translations, I insist on this. So we have some background, but the objective would be to make a brief introduction to some aspects that, again, will be connecting or will be useful for you in your professional settings, and going beyond. I want to insist on this idea, it's just going beyond. So this image here, which I assume you recognize, I've picked up the Arthurian theme, because I know you've been dealing with King Arthur recently. I'm just going to show you a few pictures to express these, how this dimension of what is something that some people identify with minority, with something very bookish, very old-fashioned, like King Arthur or the material medieval literature, is something actually very relevant and very contemporary, and that has a multitude of expressions. This painting, which is a pre-Raphaelite, okay, this is in Costa Rica. Now, if you want to see, so somebody got interested in this legend, which means that there is dissemination, that these stories are universal, have been spreading and have been acquired and transformed in different cultures, not just in English, in different language. So far that we're going to find these variety of proposals. Of another expressions that deal with is sculpture, paintings, as I said, music, all kinds of expression, because a sculpture or a film is a text. And the same way we approach the analysis of a text, we can approach the analysis of other objects. And of course, we've got theoretical materials for that. There's a book, it's called Literature and Art by Pickering, who speaks about lexicon of images, vocabulary of images that connect with all these inclusion of these stories that we have previously known with the world that surrounds them, with the context. And of course, this is, I think you've seen it in the Middle English class. This is the most recent version of Sir Gawain, which I like a lot, by the way. And you can see the green man in vertical. I think when you visualize these products, there's a new film again by the Coen brothers about Macbeth. It's in Apple TV. I don't know if you're familiar with this new release. When you do approach this type, because there's art that deals more with the world of entertainment, but there's art that has this artistic cultural expression in with it. And the way we analyze this material is going to help us not just to build up more knowledge, but to be more aware of how to use this in a professional setting, okay? So I think that's one of the main objectives. Another pick that I sort of selected is this. Again, this is King Arthur, this is Excalibur, and this is the sword, the famous sword that he picks up from a tree. And if you see the aesthetics of it, this is the psychedelia, this is the 60s and the 70s with all the colors and the aesthetic appearance to it. And more recently, we've got all the different of expression of this story, which is the Japanese manga. There's a very famous series in Japan about King Arthur. There's a series of graphic novels, things like that. There's a novel here that shows the legend of King Arthur with a post-apocalyptic world, connecting even with the zombies series. So the whole thing is just within our environment, is surrounding us. We just have to learn how to read it. And this is science fiction graphic novel connecting Marvel heroes and King Arthur. Okay, so before we just jump on, I just wanted to make the emphasis on this aspect, which is the going beyond. Okay, so exploring all these things that are in the cultural scene, because that's going to be helping us to understand what are the answers to these universal questions, right, that are provided by these classics. And I think I should pass it on to you, because it's going to be...
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Well, I'm back again. So I'm going to be teaching together with two more colleagues this module on young adult literature in the 20th and 21st century. Remember, I was talking about the practical, the pedagogical, right, applications of knowing about this sort of literature. So if you're going to teach literature in high schools, you want to be familiar with young adult literature, because they don't want to read much, right? But if they want to read something, they're going to want to read this sort of literature. So what we're going to do is to revise when this literature appears, the consideration of the label as appeared, well, coinciding mainly with the Catcher in the Rye. And are you familiar? Are you familiar with the Catcher in the Rye? Even Penelope Cruz has the Catcher in the Rye on her bedside table, right? So it's like one of those canonical works everybody in America has read, I'm not that sure though, right? But that's the origins of the genre. The Catherine the Rye. It's a book which nowadays is forbidden in some universities and in some schools. We have a lot of censorship in the United States. And this book was originally banned in many schools when it was first published. And nowadays it's still published. And it's the story of a young adult, a 15-year-old kid who is expelled from a lot of schools because of his rebellious behavior. So as you can see, it's very attractive for young adults, right? For adolescents in high school. So that's a very quick summary of the story. It's a canonical book. I mean, it's being considered as the origins of young adult literature, but it's really a book which belongs to the canon of American literature. We can't speak about young adult literature right in the 20th and 21st century without making reference to these series. We may like them or not, but they're here to stay. And there are a lot of connections with medieval literature. And in fact, you can read these series, these books, without knowing anything about medieval literature, but you make a lot of sense, a lot more sense. They make a lot more sense if you know about medieval literature. The same happens with that sort of series, the Hunger Games, right? We're going to deal with different types of young adult literature because even with any type, I mean, the same as happens with any sort of literature, young adult literature, we have good literature and bad literature. Right? There are a lot of very bad young adult literature books, but there are also a lot of very good and young adult literature books. And some of them have become classics within the genre. I don't know if you're familiar with this one, The Hate You Give. Have you read it? No? Right. Very useful for the classroom, for the high school classroom. There are a lot of issues which you can exploit in the classroom beyond the language. There are a lot of cultural aspects. The hate you give. If you look at just the initials, thug, right? You know the meaning of that word? It's a very horrible word. You don't pronounce it, you don't use it, right? If you are a native speaker of the language in America, but you can do it here. No Americans around, right? So the hate you give is racism. If you've seen the film, there's a film adaptation, very good. And the film adaptation starts with something which is called the talk. Do you know what the talk is? Somebody said yes. Yes, what's the talk? Okay, this is more specific in this case. Among the African American community, there's a very, very specific talk, right? And that specific talk has to do with what you have to do, which is terrible if you come to think of it, what you have to do if you are while driving, right? So this is what the story is about, right? Racism in the United States, police violence against the African American population, and their talk is that talk that parents, African American parents, need to give their children once they become a certain age, right? So this is what the book is about. Very important in terms of cultural and personal growth aspects. Another example, 13 Reasons Why. You're familiar also with the series, okay? Again, think of this book as a reading in high school classrooms, and very good to exploit it, right? This is another one. I really recommend you to read these works by this writer because she's very much concerned with social issues, right? And in this case, look at, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, if you're going to read it, don't listen to me now. And Andy Evans raped me in August when I was drunk and too young to know what was happening. It wasn't my fault. He hurt me. It wasn't my fault, and I'm not going to let it kill me. I can grow. She's been hiding this fact during the whole book. And at the end of the book, she comes to terms with this experience. So, well, a lot of food for thought for the high school classroom, toxic relationships, all right? Now, graphic novels. Graphic novel is a term which academics invented. This is a very simplistic definition, but that academics invented to justify the introduction at university, the introduction of comics. That is, how do we transform comics into something which is worth studying at university? We invent a new term, right? We invent a new label, and that label is graphic novel. Well, there is some differences, right? This is a very simplistic presentation, but it works. So in this subject, they're going to deal, I'm not going to put it in this subject, but they're going to deal with graphic novels that deal with environmental issues, gender identity issues, disabilities, functional diversity, right? So graphic novels as tools for social action. So this is an example, the effects of the Hurricane Katrina. This is another one. Welcome to the new world, waking up in Trump's America. This is very recent, quite recent. And it's the story of a family who, from Syria, who traveled from Jordan to the United States in the wake of the election of Trump. So they're really worried because everything changes, all right, with Trump. So I'm not going to tell you anything. Otherwise, you won't be enrolling in the masters if I tell you everything, right? So basically, the idea we want for you to have of this master is that we want you to love reading, and we want you to be wanting to use literature in the classroom when you teach. So you can end up picking up books like you pick up beers. That's the intention. And then, the father says you have a serious reading problem. So obviously you need to have a serious reading problem, okay? Because you're going to read very interesting things. Well, thank you. I hope I didn't take too long.
I think poor Jeremy is waiting, and we should just connect with him.
Not a problem.
Dejo de compartir. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello.
Right. Jeremy, so would you like to say a few words about
Yes.
reimagined philology, new philology?
Yay. I will, with pleasure. With pleasure. Well, look, it's lovely to see you all. Can you all hear me? If you can, could you wave your hands?
Yes,
Yay.
we can.
That's grand. That's grand.
Yes.
Very, very good. Well, I'm fascinated by the presentation I've seen so far, and this emphasis on the new humanities, which seems to me a very fruitful and exciting way of doing things. And I thought what I'd do is give you a little example of what we can do by looking at texts in new ways and how that can relate to other parts of the curriculum which you're planning. And you can do these sorts of things in the classroom. You can also do these sorts of things in areas like heritage or engagement with museum work and that kind of thing. I know a lot of my students have gone on to do that sort of thing. And I thought what I'd do when I was pondering on what to show would be a little case study. and it's a case study which is drawn from my own experience, because here's my moment of fame, which Maria Jose knows. I was taught by a man who was taught by Tolkien, the man who did the Lord of the Rings. So, you know, that puts me very much in the center of the ways in which these things work. So I thought what I'd do is do a little presentation, and I think I can do my present now button, can't I, Maria Jose? Is that right? Yeah, here we go. I'm a Zoom man rather than a Google man, so I'll see what I can do. Here we go. I'm going to present, what am I going to do? A tab, is it? A window or a window? Let's do a window. Here we go. And I'm going to share this. Can you see this, people? Excellent, excellent. So I thought we'd talk about some manuscript runes in Beowulf. Is that all right? It won't be 2 minutes. It's very quick. I just get carried away sometimes by my enthusiasms.
We all do.
Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. And Beowulf is a funny poem. It's about 1,000 years old, and you might think that something 1,000 years old hasn't got an awful lot of relevance to the ways in which we think about things now. But I'm going to try and convince you that it does. And that's because it contains some funny words called runes in it. And here's the rune words in Beowulf. And runes, if those of you who know your Tolkien, pop up there lots of places, don't they? They're sort of a funny writing system. But rune words seem to have special meanings in Beowulf. So Beadu rune means a battle council, and Hell runan are demons who are skilled in the mysteries of hell. Rune can be a secret consultation. Rune stavas is a runic letter, and rune witar is someone who is your trusted advisor. So there's something special about runes all the way. And when we look at the manuscript of Beowulf, you can see some interesting things because there are some runes in it. Until a few years ago, I didn't know there were runes in the Beowulf manuscript because modern editors get rid of them. They think they're in the way, but they're there. They're sort of hiding. And there's one. It's a little thing like a cross with a sort of loop on the top. It looks a bit like this. Okay, that's the runic symbol, and it seems to be shorthand for the word Ethel, meaning homeland. Homeland, which we know because there are records of interpreting what these runes do, and they only appears 3 times in Beowulf, the Beowulf manuscript, and you think, well, what's he doing there? Well, it's a kind of evocation, you see. It refers to antique things that happened a long time ago. But the trouble with things like this rune is that they've taken on what you might call an afterlife. And I was interested by the graphic novel reference a little while ago to the story of Donald Trump and his ways, because here it is. There's that rune again. And this is at Charlottesville in 2017 when there was a rather unpleasant riot by a lot of neo-Nazis who marched around the place and behaved very badly. And they seem to have all developed the use of this funny symbol. It's not the rune's fault. It's the poor old rune was sort of picked up and then reused and repurposed. But what it does show is the power of certain kinds of image and how they can be repurposed in all sorts of ways for good or ill. And that, I think, is rather a nice example of it. Now, when we think about runic symbols in Old English, it's a bit of a challenge to the ways in which we think about reading in Old English times. Because when I was taught about Old English poetry and ancient stuff, it was all like that, you see. Someone was chanting an image in the margin, and this is an 1890 painting showing someone listening to a minstrel singing around. The trouble with a rune is that, of course, it's something you look at. You can't hear it. It's not making a noise. You don't sort of press it. It makes a buzz. It's a strange thing. And the runes seem, in a sense, to manifest what you might call a particular image, a particular way of looking at things. It's lost in modern editions. The rune, in fact, gets missed out because it didn't fit with classicizing ways of thinking of Old English. And back in 1815, for instance, the very first edition of Beowulf, done by Grima Thorkelin, didn't include it. He got rid of it. And ever since then, it's disappeared, you see. So even if you look at a modern, really good edition of the poem, if I make my thing go, there we go. It disappears. It's not there. I've underlined it. There it is, Ethel. That's the word. And it's just not there anymore. Now, what's happened? What's happened to it? Well, it's because we've got rid of thinking about how runes work. Because the evidence is that it was a kind of code. And you can see runes deployed in lots of places. They appear on this big cross, for instance, all around the sides. And notoriously, it's very hard to read them. They're actually designed to be hard because they're a kind of riddle. They're a kind of new way of looking at things. So it would seem that the runes that we see in the Beowulf manuscript remind us that the book was actually designed as a kind of code, an evocation of something. And that notion of code breaking, getting into texts from the past and finding out what was going on in them, and then connecting it with the ways in which we look at codes nowadays, seems to be one of the exciting things that the new humanities does. It demands that we look at texts, we look at things in new ways and new exciting ways. And those new exciting ways can illuminate the ways in which the cultures of the past worked, and also, by echoing back on ourselves, make us think about how our own cultures work. Anyway, that's my rather stumbling discussion, which I hope you enjoyed. And I've given you a little runic set of runic symbols at the bottom there to enjoy too. So there they are in a little row for you. So thank you very much. And I will now finish, exit my slideshow, and I'm going to stop presenting.
Thanks very much, Jeremy.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I hope that was helpful to you guys. But I'm very much looking forward to be part of what sounds like a really exciting project, and I hope it goes all the best.
Okay, so if you want to hear more, Jeremy is going to be one of our main guests. So thanks, Jeremy, for that. That's been lovely, and that's been giving so much meaning to what we were trying to convey today. So thanks for waiting, and thanks for being there.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
So any questions for Jeremy before
I'm here.
No, that's all. So all looking forward to see you again. Thanks very much.
Deep
Bye.
silence. If they want to
Thank
get in
you.
touch, they're very welcome to email me.
Okay.
Cheers
Thank
now.
you. Thanks
Bye
very
bye.
much. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
That's it. No, I don't. Hands off, hands off. Okay, thanks for listening. I know the 3 masters and the new masters to be introduced is quite an intense morning, but I think we're all driven by our enthusiasm, and we're just thrilled to do things with you. So thanks for listening, and we hope the proposal is of your interest. Thanks very much.
Okay. The last one, bueno. M'agradaria concloure aquesta sessió amb la presentació del màster universitari en professorat d'educació secundària per la professora Marisa Renau, i jo sí que voldria agrair a Miguel, el professor Miguel Ruiz, per haver-me convidat a moderar, i jo sí que he de marxar. Així que espero que siguin molt profitosos aquestes jornades per a vosaltres, i no res, ens veiem en un futur. Moltes gràcies. Gràcies a
Portes pendrive o alguna cosa? Espera't perquè com està connectat en el meu... Ai!
es que ya no negaste.
Ya, pero claro, pero es que si sortint de la meua no s'utilitza...
Sí, se pot, però faig molt incògnito. Això fan els estudiants.
Sí, però el que passa és que no se trau avui. Avui no m'he...
El modo incògnito, no? Así a les galletes. Al punteig, perdó, el modo incògnito, veus? Ahí estamos. Sí, això m'ho han ensenyat els estudiants.
This is yours. This is yours. And these.
Me la vais al escriptor un segonet, que la tinc al correo, ni siquiera al drive.
Ai, m'he equivocat. M'he equivocat. Com que ja...
Bé, bona vesprada. Crec que la...
No, si és per la gravació, si no és per altra cosa, no, si no és per res, és per la gravació.
Vale.
Després no la veurà ningú, però on de veure.
Perdón. Posa'm així. No he compartit pantalla. Val, no sabia com funcionava.
Ja t'ho organitzo.
Val, mentre puc anar parlant. Bueno, bona vesprada ja a tots i a totes, crec que som totes. Gràcies a Miguel Ruiz i a Patricia per convidar-me a aquesta presentació, seré breu. Jo, en primer lloc, el que vull dir és que jo vull fer el vostre màster. Ostres, que xulo! Bé, soc Marisa Renau, soc la coordinadora del màster de professorat de la Universitat Jaume I. Este ja és el meu 6è any en la coordinació i vos presento un poc, en general, unes pinzellades de lo que és el màster del professorat. Vale. Jo dono innovació. Soc profe d'innovació. I me faltava connectar el d'això. Sí, també volia, en segon lloc, excusar-me perquè estic en plena assignatura de màster. Són assignatures, ara vos contaré un poc més. Ara acaben de fer el pràcticum, ara ve la meva assignatura, després ve l'ENA i ja en això acaben, però bé, començaré des del principi. Vos vaig a contar un poc, primer el calendari és un curs acadèmic. Jo ara, quan me'n venia, que tenia classe fins la 1, tenia els meus estudiants i els dia, vaig a fer una presentació del màster de secundària, que dieu-me algo. Diu, és muy intenso, ¿vale? O sea, era como muy intenso. Però després jo he conegut, he estat en contacte amb gent que ja té la seva plaça a l'institut i la veritat és que m'ho agraï, a mi no, en general, m'ho agraïs a tot el professorat perquè realment quan estàs dins és molt intenso, perquè és veritat que és no parar, no tenim dies lliures, són les vacacions reglamentàries dels profes, però que al final tot això va fent poquet a poquet poso i al final realment quan arribes a la pràctica això tot té un sentit, li trobem sentit. Comencem el màster al setembre, més o menys
quan comencem el grau, primer començarem en... És un màster que és comú, tenim l'especialitat de llengües, la de matemàtiques, FP, geografia i història, ara hi ha noves especialitats com educació física, plàstica, música. Aleshores, el primer mes i mig, setembre, octubre i un poc de novembre, curseu les assignatures generals, que normalment són, esteu vosaltres, aneu de matí, el grup de l'especialitat de llengües va de matí, normalment és horari de 9 a 2, i compartiu aquesta franja de matí amb l'especialitat de matemàtiques. Aleshores, sou 50 vosaltres de l'especialitat de llengües i 20 de matemàtiques, sou el grup de matí i aneu en ell juntament i feu les assignatures generals que normalment són impartides per gent del Departament d'Educació i de Psicologia. I crec que vos dona una visió de lo que és en general l'educació i el nostre àmbit educatiu. Al novembre comencen ja les especialitats i ahir ja vos dividiu de les altres especialitats i ja comencen les... El que vull dir és que, abans de seguir en això, que l'especialitat de llengües es compòs d'anglès, català i castellà. Aleshores, vosaltres tindreu 3 assignatures comunes per a les 3 subespecialitats. I després tindreu com el que és la general, que és la SAP 404, i després la següent ja anireu el grup d'anglès en el professorat d'anglès, el de castellà en el seu professor i el de català en català. Quan tornem, això fins, n'hi ha 2 assignatures abans de Nadal, que és la comuna i després la de la subespecialitat d'anglès, de català i de castellà. Tenim vacances de Pasqua i només tenim el primer període d'observació del pràcticum, que el novembre, assignatures d'especialitat. El pràcticum comença en gener, només acabem les vacances, aneu a fer 2 setmanes d'observació en el centre, que ja heu triat al novembre i que ja el procés ja hem començat abans, però tots, absolutament tots, comenceu en gener, feu 2 setmanes d'observació en el centre i tornem hacia la UJI i fem una altra assignatura general en català i en espanyol i després fem la subespecialitat. Després d'aquestes 2 assignatures, una comuna i una específica per anglès, tornem 6 setmanes més al centre, al pràcticum. I després ve Pasqua i després me teniu a mi que jo tinc a tota l'especialitat de llengües, tinc a català, anglès i espanyol, i després, en aquest cas, si fos este any, tindríeu a Helena, els d'espanyol tindrien a Nebot i els de català a Serra. I ahir acabaríem, vull dir, el 16 de maig acabem el que és les assignatures. Les assignatures i ja el pràcticum fet. Després vindria a fer la memòria de pràctiques i ja, finalment, el TFM, que ara acabem d'aprovar perquè estava en classe i al mateix temps, en l'hora en l'hora de l'esmorzar, he tingut una comissió permanent del màster per a decidir si es feia convocatòria de juny. Aleshores hem decidit que se feia convocatòria de juny perquè normalment les oficials per a presentar el TFM són en juliol i en octubre. Però hi ha gent que va més avançada i que va més endavant i ja fa 3 o 4 anys que fem una convocatòria en juny i així el 15-16 de juny ja heu acabat màster i ja teniu el vostre certificat i el vostre diploma de màster. Si no podeu, feu en juliol i també, sense tindre que renovar matrícula, en octubre també hi ha una oportunitat. Bé, està ahí, juliol, octubre, és que com ho sé de memòria, juliol, octubre. Informació general del màster. El màster és presencial, hem passat uns anys, 2 anys un poc complicats, on, per exemple, fa 2 anys vam tindre que fer-ho, a mi me tocava ara i este període era online, l'any passat era híbrido, era media classe, bueno, com en el grau, que vaig a contar-vos. Però enguany ja hem reprès l'assistència presencial. L'assistència és obligatòria, vull dir que si aneu a fer el màster, anem a fer el màster, anem a aprendre tots els conceptes, tot el que les assignatures, tot el que el professorat expert, que ara parlaré del professorat, que el professorat ens dona, anem a aprendre tot el que puguem este any. És un any estudi, que és un any intenso, és molt intens, però que després tots els coneixements que apreneu durant aquest any, la veritat és que vos serviran la resta de la vostra carrera professional, si decidiu fer opos i això, i ser professors de secundària. Com he dit, pel matí és de 9 a 2, normalment les assignatures són de 9 a 1, però avui no m'he pogut quedar perquè he dit me voy a presentar el màster. Normalment els professors ens quedem un ratet més per a dubtes, si teniu alguna cosa, o us deixem fer el treball allà a classe. Per què? Perquè el màster, cada assignatura són 8 dies, són 8 dies, i l'assignatura comença el dia 1 i el dia 8 acaba. Què vol dir això? Que ja heu fet la prova avaluadora. Vull dir que ja heu fet l'examen en aquest període de 1. Per això ara m'aneu entenent lo d'intenso. De l'1 al 8 vosaltres teniu una assignatura que ja heu fet la teoria, la pràctica, l'examen o el treball, etc. El dia 9 comenceu una altra assignatura, 8 dies més. I en aquests 8 dies vosaltres vos ensenyar el professorat la teoria, la pràctica i ja s'acaba. Vull dir, en 8 dies s'acaba l'assignatura i vos oblideu si esteu aprovats o no. Bé, el professor té un marge de temps per a corregir treballs, exàmens, això. Si no aproveu a la primera, té una segona convocatòria, que és l'última setmana de maig, que té una segona convocatòria. Però per això, que fem assignatures, període d'observació, més assignatures, període ja pràcticum, implementeu la unitat didàctica, després ara la meva assignatura, que jo estic esta setmana, i dilluns, dimarts, dimecres, i dimarts, dimecres tinc presentacions, vull dir, i entrega de treball i presentacions. Jo el dia 4 de maig tanque, però tanque jo, no tanque perquè he de corregir, però vull dir, ells, els estudiants, tanquen ja la meva assignatura, perquè el dia 5 ve Helena i tenen que començar nova assignatura. Quan acaba ja en Helena, s'acaba i ja tenen que, perquè al mateix temps s'ha de presentar la memòria del pràcticum abans del dia 31 de maig. I després ja ens concentrem i posem ja l'energia que ens queda, que al final ens pensem que no, però que en l'esprint final tenim moltíssima, encara ens queda molta bateria per al TFM. Però el que passa que el TFM ja en novembre ja s'assignen els tutors, a meitat de novembre ja, finals de novembre, ja s'assignen tutors i la tutorització ja ha començat de novembre-desembre, aleshores ara ja la tenim molt encaminada, el TFM. Normalment se fa una reunió informativa en setembre i general de tot el màster, i jo normalment vaig en novembre. Abans de començar l'especialitat vaig i me reuneixo amb vosaltres i això. I allí elegim el centre de pràctiques en novembre per a començar en gener i també vos facilita la llista de tutors de TFM. Normalment solen ser del Departament d'Estudis Anglesos, tenim també alguna altra col·laboració, però també volia parlar-vos del professorat del màster. som tots quasi tots de la UJI, som tots de la UJI, del Departament d'Estudis Anglesos, per exemple, com Helena, que està en altre màster, tenim a Inma, que també està en altre màster, vull dir que són tots professors de reconegut prestigi dins de la nostra universitat i fora, que són tots, i a més, amb una experiència, jo m'atreviria a dir, de més de 10 anys en el màster. Vull dir que no tenim... Sí que és veritat que n'hi ha tutors TFM que són nous, però que el professorat principal del màster, jo m'atreveix a dir que té més de 10 anys, segur. I en la UJI molts portem més de 20 anys. Vull dir que quan el professorat no hi ha dubte de la seva professionalitat i que portem molts anys dins d'aquest màster, que innovem, s'adaptem a tot. Ara s'estava contant que així del nou currículum, vull dir que vos estem informant de totes aquestes novetats en quant a professorat de secundària. Sabeu que podeu presentar, vos habilita si voleu fer opos, però no és sols això, el màster. Vull dir, el màster vos donem totes les ferramentes, tots els recursos que després, és veritat que després m'ho han dit, diu, és que he après moltíssim, que després a lo millor n'hi ha assignatures que les pots veure molt teòriques i a lo millor molt utòpiques, és veritat, perquè a vegades s'utilitza el nom utòpic, però que són necessaris tindre aquesta base de teoria per després, quan arribes a l'aula, poder aplicar-les. Quan arribeu, el pràcticum és una de les assignatures, sí, que més vos agrada perquè en realitat és quan poseu en pràctica molts dels conceptes que heu vist en el màster i no mos doneu vosaltres també... A veure, sí que esteu contents vosaltres, però sobretot els supervisors de centres que quan vos acollissen es diuen, al final ens diuen gràcies per les aportacions que fan els vostres estudiants perquè també deprenem. Hi ha casos especials, Helena i jo tenim en comú, però això és un 0,0001% que de vegades hi ha algun professor que no li pareix bé del centre, però el 99,9% del professorat allí està encantadíssim de rebre els nostres estudiants perquè els nostres estudiants aprenen a com és una classe real, a enfrontar-se. Enfrontar-se és una paraula no molt bonica, però és veritat. A veure el dia a dia de l'aula de secundària, però també els professors d'allí veuen el que han après els estudiants així en el nostre màster i com aquesta complementació, la veritat és que sempre és satisfactòria i molt, molt productiva per a ambdues parts. El que teniu que tindre claríssim és que, jo crec que ja ha quedat clar del que jo acabé de dir, és que les nostres assignatures no preparen per a opos. Això lleveu-vos la idea des de ja. Vull dir, i això ho diem el primer dia. Nosaltres no preparem per a oposicions. Si vosaltres voleu fer després preparar oposicions, ja agafareu el temari, etc. És cert que tenim moltes xerrades, tenim molts professors convidats. Jo avui he tingut a Sonia Vecino, ella està en el Cefire i també ha sigut professora de la EOI, ara està en el backstage, com la part trasera, que és on se preparen tots els cursos de formació, ajudar al professorat, i ens ha donat una visió de lo que és el professorat allí, ens ha contat d'experiències reals i també ens ha parlat un poc d'opos perquè ella ha estat com a avaluadora en les opos, però que no és una assignatura del màster. Fem xerrades, venen professors d'institut, de secundària i ens donen una visió. Si voleu, també hi ha xerrades específiques per a preparar opos, però no és l'objectiu del nostre màster. Mira, ho acabo de dir, que s'organitzen al llarg del curs xerrades, jornades amb professors de secundària, xarles sobre opos i continguts que vos poden resultar útils. I acceso, vale, vosaltres teniu accés directe des del grau d'Estudis Anglesos, al igual que les filologies angleses, ho hem restringit. Sou l'única titulació o grau que es pot fer l'accés directe. Després n'hi ha més titulacions afins, com la traducció i interpretació o altres filologies, però creiem que hi he lluitat moltíssim, hem lluitat moltíssim perquè sigueu vosaltres els que tingueu el primer accés, perquè és una continuació com natural del grau, natural per a qui vulgui, però vull dir que volíem donar l'oportunitat als estudiants del grau d'Estudis Anglesos a poder seguir en el màster de secundària si volien tirar per... Este matí heu tingut una visió general de totes les ICIDES, esta és una més, esta és una més, si voleu ser professors de secundària. I què més? Què passa? Jo porto des de fa 6 anys lluitant, però és com i reivindicant. És la part negativa d'això, que tenim molta demanda, moltíssima. Avui, a dia d'avui, ja podríem fer 4 màsters, a dia d'avui, en la preinscripció. N'hi ha moltíssima demanda i sols tenim 20 places d'anglès. 20 places. Com triem els millors 20 expedients acadèmics? S'ha fet sempre i és algo que no podem canviar. I entre els 20 millors expedients acadèmics del grau d'Estudis Anglesos o de l'antiga filologia anglesa, que també és un grau directe, vull dir, perquè és el mateix. Això. Jo crec que hi ha acceso directo a la especialidad inglés, 20 plazas i l'orden és per expedient acadèmic. Podeu trobar, ara tots els anys estem actualitzant, podeu trobar informació sobre en el portal de màsters, portal del nou estudiantat. També vos poso a disposició el meu correu, que és renau@uji.es, si voleu alguna pregunta, algun dubte. Sé que si esteu en quart encara esteu en el TFG, que és el principal problema, i el dubte que sempre teniu. Podeu fer la preinscripció i després presentar el TFG, el títol, si heu acabat totes les assignatures i sols vos queda el TFG per la nota, perquè sempre és veritat que ens ve un poc corregut, perquè és en juny el que és la defensa del TFG, però no passa res si vos preinscriviu després, perquè això no influeix absolutament, no són els 20 primeros els que entran, són les 20 mejores expedientes acadèmics. I per això que podeu fer la preinscripció sense el TFG i després ja quan teniu el TFG ja s'ha afegit al vostre expedient acadèmic la nota que tingueu i ja. No sé, si voleu fer-me alguna pregunta, he intentat ser breu i en pinzellades. Les pràctiques per al màster si volem fer fora o no? Fora què vol dir? En la Comunitat Valenciana? No. No, en la Comunitat Valenciana. Nosaltres tenim uns centres col·laboradors de Castelló, però si, per exemple, ve un estudiant de València o d'Alacant, ara tenim una xica que està fent les pràctiques en Alcoi. Doncs pot fer-les en Alcoi i en Catarroja, ara no recordé, però vull dir que dins de la Comunitat Valenciana sí, fora no. Alguna altra pregunta? No? Doncs molt bé, moltes gràcies, Miguel, de nou per convidar-me.